Right. Call for order.
What should say is one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Council Atkinson. Council Capola. Mayor Krasinski.
Here.
Council Payanessa.
Here.
Council Prusen.
Here.
Council Rosso. Council Beach.
Mr. Borinaro?
Unfortunately, he escaped town from Florida.
Mr. Borinaro?
Yeah.
Mr. Fernandez? Mr. Grady? Ms. McNair?
Here.
Mr. Miller? Mr. Paradis? You're on mute, but he's here.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
Karen was calling in.
Jim wanted, there's something, we don't have audience of citizens, but we wanted to say a few words, all right?
It's up to you.
Debt servicing tonight, we will be using and how to do things. Like that. I also attended the town council meeting.
They can't hear. I don't think.
Where
Yeah.
they-
We can hear Kevin and Kate very well, but we can't hear anyone on the other side.
Come on up a little closer.
I'll even get on. Okay?
Yep, perfect.
All right, so I know that the team from the town here tonight is going to go over debt services and bonding and everything else for the upcoming budget. I also attended the town council meeting a couple of weeks ago in which they approved some bonding to move forward to this meeting here tonight to figure out what's gonna happen with it. Part of that bonding, $750,000, is to replace a fire truck. Usually, we replace fire trucks between 20 and 22 years. The truck that we're looking to replace is a 1998 and is 27 years old. When it came up to the 20-year point, we put a little money onto it, hopefully to get it to the 30-year point, which worked out perfectly. We are now at the point where we're looking to order the truck in 2026 so that it will be replaced or brought in 2030. So we're still on a plan that we were working on, but we just have to get money now or get funding now so that we can come up with the right time frame so that the truck is replaced. The truck we're looking to replace is a 3,000-gallon tanker. It's not a truck that we can supplement with something else in town, like we can supplement the squad units or the pumper units, or we have two aerial pieces. It is a standalone piece that's 3,000 gallons that is primarily used in the non-hydrant area of the town of Berlin, which 1/3 of the town is non-hydrant. And in the past few years, and including on the mountain fire, it's been used quite frequently. So the problem with the truck is A, age. B, it is non-conforming to NFPA, which is only a standard recommendation. It has no rollover protection. It has no airbags in it. It has no ABS in it. Because if you remember, if you have a car that was 27 years old, you didn't have that stuff back then. So it is time to do this. We've also had some significant problems with the stainless steel water tank, especially after the mountain fire, in which, if you know anything about stainless steel and welding, stainless steel is a very hard product, and actually when you weld on it, it usually cracks down the road in those areas. We've had it down twice now since the mountain fire, in which we had to pay somebody to do a confined space entry, which means they entered the tank and had to weld back where the baffles are inside the tank. And they have told us that, you know, the tank is not in the best shape. And I said, well, what do you expect? It's 27 years old. So I just came here to tell you that that is what that $750,000 is. Hopefully you can find a way that we can get the truck on order, and I would appreciate it. And that's all. Okay?
Thank you.
So, before we begin, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. really, it's really to understand, you know, what priorities that the mayor and the town council members see in this upcoming year. In specific, the capital projects and capital planning, because, you know, we do the normal budget. Now we're looking at, we have a lot of major items that are coming up. So we're really interested more in capital projects and capital planning, where you guys, you know, stand there. Just to go back a little while, your perspective, Ryan, is that, you know, we were pretty deliberate about reducing debt the last 5-6 years. We were close to $100 million in debt. Our target was to get to around 40 million. But, you know, we did a good job working with Kevin and his team and trying to manage, you know, capital through using general fund monies. We're down to $56 million as of the end of 24. So 2016, we're $180 million that we're cut in half basically throughout the years. But, you know, now that we have some major projects coming, you know, we can't avoid funding. In September of 24, we did buy $4.6 million. The majority went to the Hubbard and Griswold HVAC upgrades. That was 3.3 million, and then we bonded for police radio. That's what we did in September. And we also have a plan upcoming to bond the remaining amount for the Hubbard and Griswold HVAC for another almost $3 million. We put in for library and roof replacement. That's almost $1 million. And then we put $400K for the first payment on the pumper, right? Which is is that the fire pumper that Jim's talking about?
No, that's the one that was ordered. We expect.
So we haven't considered the one that. Okay.
Because this one's a tanker, as you mentioned.
So in addition to that, we did get a list of capital requirements for FY26 that the department head submitted for another 12.6 million. I mean, it's a list, but we're going to have to work with that list and see how much we could fund out of the general fund, because in the last 3 years, we've been using budget surplus to accommodate, you know, those capital requirements. So with that, just wanted to know, we also have another challenge in this year's budget. The fact that the motor vehicle valuation is different this year from state statute. Everybody's aware of that, but we're going to lose between 2.6 million and $3 million in revenue, which is a lot of mill rate. So the first challenge we had before we even get the budget, we have a $3 million shortfall in revenue. So, you know, everybody's got to keep that in mind. With that, you know, I'll leave it to the mayor and town council members to give us an input with respect to the upcoming budget, capital. We can discuss, you know, levels of, we need to really figure out levels of funding.
Thanks, Sal. So, first thing, obviously, that we still have on the horizon, of course, with the other, with Willard being finished as our 2 HVAC projects, as you mentioned, right, at 1.6 and 1.2 respectively, I guess. But so one thing, maybe Kevin, you could help just to make sure. So we have these, right? If we put in grants, right? We get that grant which is at 1.8 for Hubbard, 1.2 for Griswold. That's the figure, right? Somewhere around there.
There's a sheet here, it's total of $3.1 million.
So that's probably that.
The numbers that I talked to the bond, it's exclusive of that grant. Another 2.8 million. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. That's in addition to, but what did, oh yeah, I guess it's Hubbard cost, what, about 5 million, 5 point something?
The cost estimate was just under 5 million.
Under 5.
Because there's electrical work.
At Hubbard,
Just Hubbard. The
Yeah.
other schools had already.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
that was brought up before because there was a lot of other stuff that needed to be done. That's why the costs went up.
Well, yeah, what does it?
Typically, you would have thought Hubbard would be less expensive.
Yes.
Griswold, given the size, because of that additional work. Right, smaller.
And right, by the end of this year, right, we need to make sure we started, we don't have to have substantially completed either one of those, but I think we need to show what, and so I want to make sure we don't want to lose the grant.
Yeah, the grant has a substantial completion deadline of December 31, 2025.
Yeah.
But I think the intent was to go out to bid, award the projects, get them started, then go back to the state and say, it's not reasonable, we would like an extension. So I believe they're at a point getting near the end of the design, so that we can get the bid documents and go out to the street. Everything we're working on is still the original cost estimates. So we'll hopefully within the next, say, couple of months, we'll have a better handle on what are the real numbers. But yeah, I think if we don't at least start it, you know, we can request the state to extend it. I think it will be more of a challenge. We say we're gonna start the project after the original deadline, then if we award the project and say, but we need more time. The state generally will work with us, especially given that I believe about 200 schools awarded in that same grant. Right. It's unrealistic to think that every contractor and material can come in. It's ever been less than 2 years to complete this project, which clearly have to be done at least predominantly in the summer. At least the destruction and recreation. You can do the chiller outside. Can't rip a classroom apart in the middle of the school years.
All right, yeah, that's what I thought, so that's good, and it's only, I think, public building. I assume they're aware of this. I don't know if we tell them. I mean, I could tell.
Yeah, I've been talking to Mike Byrne as well, so
Okay,
Mike has
so-
been communicating out with
Okay.
them. to
So
make
they
sure-
kind of know we gotta get these things at least started and. I don't want to lose that. So I obviously, Sal, those are two of the, our biggest priorities to finish the schools for the air quality, which is very important, right? The other one we, obviously Jim just talked about with the pumper at 750,000, right? And then the roof replacements for town hall and library, those are important to us. And there was a smaller one there, the bunkers, we need to do some work on the bunkers and need to get a study done so they place them the right way. So that last agenda we did, the bond plan came out to be like 3.585 million. I think that was right. So that included these items that we obviously put a priority in. That's part of it. And I know there's always many other projects we need to do, and then we looked at we had another list. I think that was what is it? Some of it was some capital. The other big project we are looking to do, but it's not anywhere near ready. I think we sent that off to public building. We really do want to renovate the pool in East Berlin, make it a splash pad. Many towns are doing that. It's very popular. That pool is well past its useful life, and to redo that one, and this is a lot of this comes from Park and Rec. The attendance at that pool was not very big anyway. Last few years, attendance, quite frankly, at Percival Pool, which needs some renovations too, has not been that big either. But I think the one pool in town seems to suffice folks to have a place to go in the summer. But the splash pad, I think, is all up. So I think we're going to do that in phases, right?
Yeah, so there was like 3 phases, I believe,
Yeah.
for the study that was done.
And we're going to send it to public buildings so they can flush it out more. And I think that first phase is going to be like 2.5.
2.4, 2.5.
Yeah, something like that. With the splash pad, the pool house, and the parking. The 3 of those. And then there was talk of paddleboard courts and some other stuff around.
Playground renovation.
Playground.
And then a renovation of the parking lot.
So
I think we're a whole year away.
we are, that's right. I was gonna say that's still a ways off. I mean, it certainly is not even close to started this summer. It would be the following summer.
So that's about a 6-month project.
Yeah, just to get it going. So that's, on the future agenda as being important.
So we won't have to do any work in FY26.
I don't think so, but
Maybe
design, I'm thinking, we gotta see what public building says, let's kind of send it to them and see what they could do, how we get it started, so at least that we can start rolling on. So that's important. And then we had that list, right, the projects, there was a Sage Park parking lot, not all. just some other smaller project there.
Parking lot, the lights.
The light, that's another list, a lot of lists. That's the latest list, I guess, it's different, but. The parking lot, but I believe, Donna Beach delegation there, legislature, they are gonna get, I think that's on the list, to get a grant
I
for
have
that.
that list, Mark.
Oh, yeah, the grant, wasn't it a grant? for
Yeah,
that?
let me open that up.
And then there were some install fire suppression units at BHS. That was like 30 grand. We approved that one to go forward. There were the vans. Got how many? One van we added in. Public building, we sent to them sidewalks at McGee and what was that, air quality stuff at the library, at the library?
IAQ.
Yeah,
Sorry. That's been wrapped in steep that you guys took up at the last. meeting,
oh, that's
so
right, that's gonna be wrapped into that.
Hopefully we will be awarded the steep grant.
Right. Then we had a truck for facilities, a mower. Sand trap. So that list, some of those items. Didn't include the parking lot. Didn't include sidewalks in McGee or the community center or the program. That's about 445,000. I think that list came out to be, it was at 1.3 million. Down to 5.
That's part of the, 525.
Yes. Yeah.
You already
You already
approved.
approved that.
You approved all that, right?
Yes,
Because you
you
saw
did.
that list, right?
So
Yeah.
that's part of that, right?
So that's there, and then that's stuff the other.
I have it, Mark.
Where's that list?
I have it here from,
Oh, I got
from the meeting.
I got it, yeah. Yeah.
You're talking to Department 38, Department 61.
Right, yeah,
It's 100K for town hall, BOA and PD suppression system upgrades. 650K for Sage Park field lighting upgrades. 200K for Worthington Meeting House painting and exterior work. Those were the three under Department 38. Under Department 61, there was 50K for Griswold School solar system ballast block requirements and 150K for Willard School original front restroom sanitary and domestic piping.
right, so, and all we did with these, Sal, is we moved, we just kind of moved it to go forward, I mean, I don't. There's some questions on the lighting upgrade, I think that's a big ticket. I guess the meeting house, we do decide on that, I think we get a % match on that, I understand by what they explained to us.
But we're gonna apply.
Apply for that, right, we
That's
don't know,
okay.
but that's. I don't know about, we want to preserve that meeting house, but.
That's 120.
No, this is the one on Worthington Bridge.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and
I think it's the other.
I mean, we've gone through this with, the folks there, the Historical Society before, and, I know I've gotten some grants passed, right, is what we encourage them to do. Question is, a couple of town managers ago, had some, already with different grants and things for, for historic buildings in town. The question was always, if the town should be kicking into this, or what do we do? So that's still probably, I don't know what to say with that, but we did agree to look at that and maybe, do something, maybe make some kind of contribution to that and apply for that. The solar system, block replacement at Griswold, remember we went through that with Willard, so I didn't know what to make of that, that's 50K. And then there's some issue with the front restroom, apparently, with the sanitary sewer, right, and Willard, which might be a must.
But they say there's some corrosion in the pipes, so I think you probably
Yeah.
have to leave it.
The Willard one is a big deal.
Yeah.
The pipe. Doug is online, so Doug, if I say something wrong, correct me, but I believe the pipe in one of the coming out of the bathroom barracks has actually collapsed, so they've actually locked off
Gotcha.
some urinals and stuff, so they can't use it, otherwise they basically just flush it.
That will goes back to what, 6, 5?
Yeah, so this is an important health
Yes.
safety
No, I'm sure
matter.
that's a must do there, yeah, I don't.
I could never.
Doug, can you clarify a little bit on what the intent is for that project?
That section of the building, if you start on grade, you have to cut the floor. Get out.
They're also, they don't want to.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Hey Doug,
Yeah, it's related to the sanitary lines in the front restrooms along with the domestic piping. We've had the sanitary line has been compromised excuse me, we're having some drainage issues along with some of the domestic piping, which is starting to pit and fatigue, where we've had to abandon it and repipe the hot and cold water lines that service those restrooms. So it's more of just kind of a wear and tear thing. That's the original restrooms of the building from the 50s. So we're starting to see some of that piping get compromised, and we're starting to lose fixtures and functionality of the restrooms. We do have that on video. We've had our contractors in there trying to find a way to keep this functioning as best we can, but things are starting to get compromised. We've had to make some adjustments just to keep them functioning, so. Be happy to meet with any members, council members, commission members, if you'd like to see the school, and we can show you a lot of these capital items that are in question. If you want to see firsthand to help.
No, is it in the fall?
It would be in there. It would help. These were all items that we discussed. I know Tim and Sal were both on for the capital meeting that we had. Some were deferred, some were brought forward, and these are all in there.
So we can bring these up for the top of the list in terms of priorities, next look at it, so that we know there's the things people are looking for.
When you see your budget at the beginning of March, see these in there.
they'll be in there, right? It doesn't mean we're,
Yeah.
some of them, I mean, that was really, we gotta leave it.
Yeah. The ordinance call for it to be its own effect. We find. They cover that service.
It has been handled both ways. The CIP that they charge, which is $1 per 9 round, 9 hole, or $2 per 18 hole, started to be able to generate money to repay bonds that were done probably close to 10 years ago. Probably more than 10 years ago. There have also been instances where the town has done, depending on the magnitude, it may not be feasible for developers to pay the whole.
This is the first major project. Since that ordinance was placed already, project that's been self-sustaining. But that ordinance.
I guess the question is, was the ordinance intended to be self-sustaining from a functional standpoint or overall? It's kind of the difference between a special revenue fund, you have to pay your own bills that you go on, capital is handled, versus say an enterprise fund like Berlin Water Control has to be totally self-sustaining. From the feedback, I know I had conversations coming back all the way probably 5-6 years ago, dealing with our auditors who've seen a number of towns. They've even stated they've never seen a municipal golf as an enterprise fund survive. They just can't generate the revenue to also service. We could do that, but I think we would probably end up coming back to the town anyway.
Not commanding it, what is the ordinance?
I don't think it was clear as to whether it was just operating capital, it said self-sustaining. They are self-sustaining from operations.
Right, yeah, I think that was when we created that, I think that was the intent, when I recall discussing, the operational side of this. Which they're at,
They're doing well.
They're doing
They
well.
have done it for a few years.
yeah,
No,
that's-
they're doing
great at it.
These larger projects, we're talking about bridges. Speaking of bridges, we have a number of bridge projects.
I
We
can't
do
hear
have,
anything Charlie is saying.
Sorry?
I can't hear anything Charlie is saying. Maybe speak closer to the mic or something.
That over more towards you then.
Hopefully that's better.
I'm sorry, I just had two questions. One was the golf course have to cover any debt service that we incur for this bigger project with the way the ordinance is written. And my other question was, do we have any townwide bridge projects coming up that we have to consider finding?
Did you hear that? Barry, you're good?
Yes, thank you. Much better.
As far as the bridge projects, there are some coming up. It sounds like we're finally getting ready for Spruce Brook Bridge. Spruce Brook, for those who've been around for a while, was actually approved at the same council meeting as the Farmington Ave Bridge, which was certainly not a speedy bridge, but yet is done. We have been taking reimbursements from previous bridge projects and putting that into an account for Spruce Brook so that you would have funding there. The goal was hopefully to be able to fully fund what we need to for that project for cash flow that way, so we wouldn't have to bond for that project. They're also looking at Kensington Road Bridge, continuing with that as a LOTSIP project. So if that continues as LOTSIP, those are pre-funded. So LOTSIP pre-funds the project. They would go out to bid, typically take the below bid, and then they tack on a contingency and an incidental. So you actually get more money for those. So hopefully we'll do that. And then I believe they have Edgewood Road Bridge, which is a smaller one. We have money set aside for that and may tap into some municipal project grant money that we get annually. So we do have some big projects coming up. I think we have a good plan. May have to borrow something for that, but I think far less than we have in the past. And then of course, those would also come with reimbursements. So we'd be able to take those and try to put them, we're trying to space out the bridges to where we could recycle and refund the reimbursements to help fund the next.
Thank you.
The other ones on this list, I'm looking at the 3 years debt issue plan. There's a couple there that I'm curious about. The McGee Science Classroom, that came up a year ago, just kind of out of the blue. That was never on any former list of anything that I saw. And I did send it, the public building was looking into it, and in a couple of discussions with a couple of members on public building, they were looking into requirements for middle school science classrooms, and they had a hard time finding any. So I don't think that whole project from day one, never understood, just kind of came up. It's, I think, a $3 million total project, I believe. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of information about it from the Board of Ed, who raised that issue. The former finance director there raised it. So I'm not sure. And one of the Board of Public Building Commission members did look at the classrooms, and there's definitely some upgrades that are needed. But he's a construction guy. Chair looked at it, or another member, I can't remember. A couple of them did, but they quite frankly thought a lot of the infrastructure in those classrooms were in pretty good shape. Probably some of the equipment definitely needs upgrades, and there's probably a few other things, but there's just seems to be no information for a $3 million project. It came up out of nowhere. It's an emergency. We need it. And the person on the public building was looking at accreditation stuff. They couldn't find anything about middle school. High school, different story. Different things you need in high school. Obvious reasons, they're older and probably more complicated, science studying. So, I'll have to. I would suggest, Sal, we talk some more to public building. That was a while ago that conversation took place. I'm just not sure about that one. And the boiler replacements, I know public building had some questions on. And I know Doug's been talking to them. I don't remember how it all ended, but there was difference of opinions of what we needed to do with the boiler replacements. Public building, at least a while ago, Doug, and again, that's probably last year sometime, had a different thought on what we should be doing with that than what was originally proposed. I don't know if that's changed. not an HVAC guy, but we probably need to get it maybe fleshed out from public building on whether replacements understood they're important in their role. We know that. But they had some different thoughts on what should be put in there than I think what we originally were asking. So just, you know, the library roof, obviously, we're going through with that. So those are the only two that they, I have a lot of questions on, as did public building. So, you know, probably look at that.
I have a question. Talk a little bit here.
Oh, the track, that's another one. Yes, the track. That might be one we could hold off on, but I think we could also maybe
I don't think
have,
7 years lifespan is reasonable for a track.
no, been on that track.
107 years for a million something.
But the guy sells track says we need to move.
I mean, it's something I think we could definitely explore that one too, see if
Yes.
it's got a little bit more life in it. And again, I think someone on public building did say there's probably,
They wanted to reseal it, they were looking at.
yes, there's some resealing that could be done that would give us another couple of years on it at least. So those are the three that I would explore that are, you know, in the pipeline. You're not saying we don't need to do them, but just.
At the high school?
Huh?
Yeah,
The high school.
right. Well, you've been on
I've been on it too.
4
It's,
million something to change it.
so.
Right.
Need more information, I think, with those, right? I mean, that's what I would suggest. I mean, that's just what my thoughts on all the projects that have been forward lately. So that's, I don't know, all I know, that's most of the ones that we talked about later.
Unfortunately, most of these projects, we have to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the mayor hit everything pretty much on the head. You know, in fact, last town council meeting, track was brought up where, you know, as the mayor said, we do need to have more information.
So a couple of things. The track. I mean, just sealing it, we find it, to be honest with you.
Really?
We have cycle practice on it all the time.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. The 1 year is fine. Did we talk about the possibility of replacing the windows before we order the schools?
That's a whole nother thing, the windows. I you know, I gotta defer to the experts in public building. I mean, I think relying upon them, they've all got experience building.
It seems like,
Yeah,
it seems like we're like the library was painted walls and new carpet and now
Yeah.
they're first, like,
yeah. There's some question on the windows and how bad they really are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not, again, either, but, I think some of, that's why I really defer to them, you know, and Doug and our town expert, but just to figure out what the most important one is.
I think the boilers too, they were talking about using lifetime boilers.
they don't.
No, I'm saying that what they want to replace them with is what's the style that's there now. And they're less than half the cost per boiler.
That's most of the things that they wanted.
Right, so we would end up gutting the whole system. But that would be the case of painting the walls, changing the carpet, and then putting it. So,
Okay, Mayor, Doug does.
Yes.
And Doug will be coming to the council meeting, next council meeting,
Oh,
to
okay.
talk about boilers.
Okay.
In addition, updates on that.
And Doug, will you have information from, public building on what they think we should do with the boilers?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we're gonna bring that up at next week's PBC meeting.
Okay, great.
In light of we've experienced this past winter, we want to take the information we have, the updated cost estimates,
Okay.
review that with the PBC, and then come back to council for a capital request to move it up a year in the plan. In light of
Okay.
what we've seen, we'd like to do one boiler, one of the two for this summer, this calendar year, fiscal year, next fiscal year, and then do the following, keep it in the plan for the next fiscal year.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. All right, so that's it for me.
If you look at this list that we got from the department heads, we got windows other places too. You got them at
A lot of
the,
windows.
at the library, community center,
Yeah, that list, so
we have them at,
you
in
sent,
Timberland also.
what's that? Is that the
This
one?
is the department heads.
Give a printout of this.
that was when we got it together.
Oh,
Well,
Capital
that's
committee.
from the capital committee, capital meeting. And then it was vetted and items went through, department heads determined timing, many of them adjusted out multiple years. And so we're finalizing the plan, and then we incorporate the town manager's feedback to determine what's in the budget, what goes out future years. And then we post that on the website and pass it out for budget hearing, so you'll have the full list.
Would you like somebody, I mean, I tried even making this bigger on a print, on a copier today, and
Couple bigger pages.
I can't still really read this, even with glasses, I don't know how small we can get on this stuff, but I was trying to read it today, if I had a magnifying glass with me, I guess I could read it, but I know the eyes are bad, they're not that bad, but
That's the point.
yeah, that's the plan, don't read it, just sign it, okay, I got it,
It's
I
only
got
one
it.
page.
It's all good,
Have
don't
that as a-
die, yeah, we're good, yeah. It's a 2-pager.
Do I have the list on the computer?
do you have that as a PDF file you put on the screen?
Probably won't be able to read it on the screen either, without binoculars. Maybe we could get a bigger printed copy somehow,
Yeah, like just, in landscape.
something a little bit better.
One page looks way better though.
Yeah, exactly. Quickly do a presentation.
Oh, my eyes are really shot.
You all wear glasses.
Yeah.
Except for Kevin. See, he's not wearing glasses.
So this is the summary page of it, and then you start to get into
Yep, it was the
particular items.
It was the 2-pager one, right? This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've done is kind of divided it differently, so that there's sort of small vehicles and machinery, and then your large vehicles, fire vehicle, highway truck, and major
Oh,
projects.
is that what you just gave us tonight, Kevin?
No,
Oh.
this is since that meeting.
Oh.
What ends up happening is we talk about the capital plan.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you look at the general fund, what happens is when we talk. Since everybody on the line is probably, what is he talking about?
What? They just share it.
Everybody in line can see what. So if we take, for example, the general fund plan, when we have conversations during the budget hearing and say, well, let's take the capital and defer it, and if there's surplus money, we'll use that. What's been happening every year is the first line is what gets funded. So when we come back to you, you start to see a lot of pickup trucks and lawn mowers, all of those things. Unfortunately, given the infrastructure we have, buildings, roads, fields, everything else, there's going to be those every single year. We have about 125 vehicles or so just on the town. We have, you saw the 2-page list of the school vans that are out there. We inevitably are going to have to fund something in that top line every year. And so part of this was to have the conversation next month during the budget to say, rather than taking everything out of the budget and say fund it with capital, encouraging to start thinking about small vehicles and machinery. Maybe it's $1 million, maybe it's $1.5 million, but as you look at those numbers, some of it's catch up. We saw where the height of the school vans are. Once we catch up there, you're probably looking at a van or two a year, but trying to say, hey, if we leave something in the budget, then the surplus can be used towards projects or bigger vehicles. And it doesn't even necessarily mean the surplus has to be used to fund one of those. It might be funds year one of 2 or 3 years. There are towns that I need to buy an ambulance. I'm going to budget the same amount for 3 years, and at the end of that, I'll buy an ambulance. So, but if we could get in the practice of where 13 is, if we could get in the practice of funding something along that line and keeping some capital in the budget, it would allow us to start to catch up. You're going to see, I know we just put 150,000 of money into school vans. And they are looking strategically, they're working with Mr. Simons, they're working to try to see new versus used and can they catch up more on the fleet, but we're still, I would say, at least 2 to 3 years away, even at that pace, to catch up. So hopefully this will also help with both the size of the print, because there'll be fewer things, but also kind of separating out as we think about, what are your smaller vehicles, your trucks, your vans, and those could be pickups, like the guys who were clearing the driveways here today, or the ones who work on the school grounds, or those types of vehicles.
That include police vehicles in that?
It would.
Can you send that to us?
Yep. Yeah, we're just finalizing, and then what I do is
yeah.
I actually post it on the website. I'll give you guys copies, but I also post it on the website, so anybody in town, everybody should be able to see it and look at it and
if the print's bigger, we could all see it. But
So
we have a lot of seniors in town. I'm one of them.
Yep.
But,
well, the nice thing about having this
See it.
online is you can also make it as big as you want.
yeah, no, I know that. I'm still stuck with paper sometimes. Sorry, that's why vestige of the past. What are you gonna do?
So, and then you get to some of the bigger things. So we're looking at like the boilers here. But you start to get into, you mentioned the police cars. And that's gonna be,
Do we know with the police cars, are they rotating them? Because quite frankly, even the chief was surprised at a police commission meeting recently that there was that many take-home cars. Or, you know, whatever. There was a lot more take-home cars than people realize. So, and I'm assuming some of the folks that got the take-home cars probably were up to the command staff a little bit, which means they probably got new cars. While every year and you know, it's for discussion. I don't know. They didn't get into a big discussion that night, but you know, we're replacing the patrol cars, which get beat up the most. You know, some of the people that had take-home cars probably could have an older vehicle because they're not responding necessarily to an emergency. They're driving home back and forth. And I don't know. That's just something we probably need to look at this year and see the chart. I know that you usually give us a chart with all the years of the cars and the mileage, and just but what we probably should look further into is who they're assigned to. Because if there's low mileage vehicles that are assigned to some folks, I don't mean the chief, the deputy chief, I mean further down the chain, that have newer vehicles that should be rotated into patrol. That's what I would do if I was running the place. And the older ones could go they need some, take home cars because they're on call. That's understandable. But they don't need the newest vehicle just to drive back and forth and maybe respond once in a while. That's just a thought, It just came up at a police commission. So.
I listened to that meeting and
You did?
there,
Okay.
there was a lot of take cars. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Staffing that, we were sending that many cars out every single day.
Nor did the chief.
Yeah, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
The retired ones, there's so many that the town has, they lose them and they don't know it.
Well, that's the other thing. I guess they fixed that problem now, right? With the cars being stolen, we didn't even know they were gone. That's an interesting
But if you
scenario.
don't know the car's gone,
They were all.
those are pool cars.
Yeah.
Not police cars.
No, I know, but
but if you don't know they're gone, do we really need them?
jeez.
That's
a big question, Charlie.
Yeah, a few years ago, there was a policy shift to move away from mileage reimbursement and try to go more to pool cars and have people take the cars that had been sitting there. It hasn't, I would say it hasn't taken off the way it was expected. And so there's been discussions about going back in the other direction.
Oh, is that what we did? So we were reimbursing miles, folks using their own car for town business. Makes sense. And then we decided to have the pool cars, I guess.
To reduce the reimbursement,
sure.
leverage the cars.
Yeah.
But it hasn't.
Why not? Why do you think? I mean, to me, I'd take a pool car. Why wouldn't they?
Some people had concerns about the cars. Not saying they were founded.
Oh,
Simons in the garage is not going to put an unsafe car out there.
okay.
And then the second one was depending on distance. So if you were going to a seminar, it's out of state,
Okay.
they may not be comfortable taking a town pool car to
Really?
Rhode Island, New Jersey, Maine, wherever the trip.
I'd be
is.
very comfortable taking a town car out of state and leaving my car parked at home, mileage reimbursement or not, but that's just me. I mean, burn up the town car, why wouldn't you?
But we don't need a pool either though.
Well, I mean, if they don't want to use them, I get it.
Well, therein
understand.
lies the discussion about do we sell those pool cars,
Yeah.
use it to replace some of the older, more regularly used cars.
Sure.
You have people there's some people on the call now. I mean, Jim was in here earlier, so they have vehicles because they're called back frequently. I mean, this weekend, they've got, I think it's a 45-minute hauling time frame.
Yeah, no, that's
there. So
understood. Yeah,
There are
I
certain
understand.
people who have vehicles and that's
Yeah.
why.
No, if they have a need for it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
And then there are cars that are kept up here that are used fairly regularly by certain staff. So zoning enforcement,
Yeah.
assessor, Public Works has them. They go out to sites with vehicles and obviously building inspection there as well.
Sure.
Some of these were pool cars that were just the general pool cars that you would sign out and take somewhere. And
They just won't.
Wasn't
they're not that
identified.
popular.
I just,
Kevin, is there
we didn't know it was
anything
wrong for
this-
months, so we really need.
Cars for all the departments? There is.
Jim has those, and Jim, they go through and do the quarterly checks, they do the oil changes, they go over the whole car, every car. They also do odometer readings, so Jim is very much aware of vehicles that are not being driven very much.
Every time they fuel it, their mileage was into the computer. and the computer-
My question was.
Jim maintains that at the garage. very
And they,
well.
and they fixed the problem of the stolen vehicles, right? Because weren't they all police
Old
vehicles, right?
police.
With the master key there.
Is there any questions from anybody on the Board of Finance? Yes, we're good.
Everybody's happy? We're all happy tonight?
Now,
Can we get a list of all the vehicles?
Yeah, so to the council too.
How many does the PD have? How many does the PD have right
Who?
Vehicles.
Town.
now? No, town.
No,
Town PD.
I was gonna say, the PD does better than that.
Just scare me like that.
That would be interesting, right?
Can I say one thing before you go? And then I
Yeah,
promise I'll let you go.
Absolutely.
You mentioned at the beginning about motor vehicle, and we did definitely take a motor vehicle, a hit on motor vehicle, like every other town. Moving, was a reduction, netted out to be about $34 million grants, less than expected. You have ups and downs that happen, so it's much better. We did also have one taxpayer who invested significant in personal property. The assessor validated it because it was so significant. So you're gonna see, you wanna share it?
You have the percentage.
We're up 1.39% on the grand list. So
Oh.
it is not backwards, so that is good news.
And how much is that?
It's about 1.2 million with tax revenue.
And I'll just add, I was on a call, we had a legislative meeting with CCM this morning, and we are an outlier with that, so I felt pretty fortunate, and you all should too, because there's many municipalities that are not in that same boat right now.
Outlier with our increase.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good to hear.
Keep in mind, the motor vehicle went down 34 million, real estate's up about 6 million. The personal property is up 65 million. 60 million is that one taxpayer significant investment. So absent that one anomaly, we would have been backwards as well. That said, we'll take it.
So the 34 million, Kevin, you talked about, that compares to the 85 million that we once talked about? Okay, so that's a big difference.
Big difference.
Awesome.
And then there, the 6 million I mentioned on real estate is net of about 5 million impact for the veterans exemption too. So there were the two pieces were there, but it was an anomaly, it was a one-timer, but the good news for the motor vehicle, as I've gotten to understand it better, it will lend a lot more stability. You guys will, I'm sure, remember, because we all paid much higher motor vehicle taxes during COVID because the NADA value shot through the roof because nobody could get a vehicle. What this does is goes back to your original date of purchase from the MSRP, and then they legislated the depreciation schedule. So it's going to depreciate based on law. So it should lend a lot more stability to this. It's just this first year is you're switching, and it's tens of millions of dollars of impact to every town. It's huge. I know there are communities, most communities I would say, are net down in their grand list. So not a perfect story. We've been over 2% the last few years. It's less than that, but positive's positive. So I just wanted to share some good news before we go.
We like the good news. Yeah, we wanna hear
I don't get to do it at too many meetings.
No, it does seem to be, talking money is always never, seems to be good. Not sure they told us yes.
Yeah, we've had a secret.
Oh, Jerry's got his hand. Jerry, you want to go?
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about the capital side of the budget, but are there any initiatives programmatically that the council is looking at as far as the operating budget is concerned, or any areas where departmentally or programmatically, you think there should be significant programmatic changes?
Hopefully, they've got that far yet. I don't
Well,
know.
I'm talking philosophically. You may not have the numbers. Are you initiating any new programs or anything?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, I don't think so. It doesn't say they may not come up, but. Right, what,
Nothing's.
I don't think
it's
it's
gonna come
anything,
on
right,
budget.
significant, right?
I'm just saying that because you don't have an opportunity to add to the budget later. We do.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I don't know offhand though, I don't, right, I don't think there's anything, well, I mean, we don't, no, I mean, you haven't done the budget yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know of,
I mean, the only thing I can think of that on the budget submissions that would be additive for you to consider is the police department and the police commission are continuing or are requesting to continue. They moved from 44 to 46. They'd like to move to 48 officers as a head count.
Gotcha.
That's,
Yeah.
you know, it's a continuation. Their ultimate objective, their strategy is to get to 50. They think 50 is the right number.
There's a third position too for the police, there's a third position for the police, it's more administrative to monitor, or to modify the body camera footage, I believe.
It's a part-time position. They brought it up, I believe, last year as well. They get a lot of FOIA requests.
Yes.
And a lot of those stem around pieces of the body camera footage.
Right.
So they want to bring somebody in, maybe a retired police officer, somebody who can understand how to look at them and make sure something that shouldn't be shared out isn't.
Yeah.
But right now, they're sometimes dedicating sergeants and lieutenants to that.
Yeah.
They're trying to bring somebody
Right.
time
I've heard that.
to be more cost-effective and better use of the officer.
Yeah, they got a ton of FOI rights requests on those videos. Yeah, no, that would probably make sense, that position. They want to go to, right, we're at 46, right? It's the,
46 and they want to go to 40. And this is part of the continued strategy. That's the only thing. It's
yeah,
What is that
So,
number?
so
based
when,
on?
yeah, that's, they want to.
Based on the building that we're building right now. Make sure quote unquote 4,000.
They have done a study, I believe, I don't know if the chief or deputy has spoken, I believe they want to send to the council of
I've heard it in
finance, the study that.
I've heard at a police commission meeting, but there didn't seem to be much backup of why we had to go to 50. We're having a hard time filling 46, but it doesn't mean we don't increase it, but I don't, I mean, we were at, we're at 42 for years, and then we had a bunch of people leave and retire. We went down to 35 at one point, I believe, below. And we went to 46, but I think my opinion, just my personal opinion would be if they wanted to go above 46, I'd really want to look at the staffing and where these folks are assigned, because from what I understand, we're going to 46, but the patrol assignments have not gone up any. So I don't know where the extra officers are going. I don't believe they've increased their patrol shifts. And that was always the kind of reason to raise the staff. So we have plenty of folks to be on patrol. I could be wrong. I'm just, this is sort of what I've seen. I don't know if there's more officers assigned inside or where they are. I think they went to the third.
I think they're still an FTO, aren't they?
Huh?
I think they're still an FTO. Like 2 or 3 or something.
There's a couple still, yeah, I mean, they're not, I don't, yeah, right, there's a couple,
Yeah, there's-
I think they just hired maybe 2 to get to 46, but they're gonna be in the academy, yeah.
We had a couple of people who came into the academy. Started a couple of days. they
But
left.
don't forget, that's 2 more to 46, so we're at 44, we were at 35. So, and maybe, I don't know, I just think it's a question to look at.
I have
what
the
they're doing.
list, I met with the chief.
Yeah.
So there's 44 officers as of last month, including 2 in the academy, 3 FTOs, and 2 are out with long time injuries, right?
So we're losing 2 there too. Yeah, so say that,
So 44 officers currently.
Yeah.
2 are in the academy, 3 are FTO, and 2 are out long-term.
So we're at 38, 39.
Yeah.
so we still,
Realistically speaking, we're on the field at 38, 30.
How long are these other 2 supposed to be out, Ryan? Type of ETA on that?
I don't, let me see if I wrote it down.
there you go, right there.
But they are coming back, right?
They are coming back as far as I know. Yeah. I don't know.
Do we, do we know how much, I mean, it would be a question of overtime versus new people, right? We expect that number to decrease if the percent goes up.
Yeah, you had, I
Okay.
can't remember, I don't have the budget in front, the police budget in front of me, I don't believe. Overtime is going down.
So I think, the other thing is, you know how during the budget review, have department heads come forward and talk to us? Definitely the police department should come forward and give us all the right information associated with, if they want to increase heads. You know, give us some analysis that supports that. With the new things, are they doing want any computer systems, servers, or any of that upgrades? Well, there's a server upgrade that was scheduled, it's on schedule, but that's in the budget this year, there's 245,000. But that's not related to upgrade, that was, I believe we're year 5 or 6 on that. Brian Freeman, I think had come to you guys probably in November, I think you presented to the council. That we would have done regardless of this change. And that 1.3 million for the radio systems is self-enclosing. Everything that, like certificates for the, everything is in that 1.3, right? They've indicated. That was not a yes. That wasn't a yes.
That's
I haven't seen an invoice
It's a working,
yet,
it's a working.
That 1.3 million was approved a long time ago, the work should have been done by.
The radio system?
I agree with you that
1.3.
yeah, it's been a while.
Right.
Because when I asked for an update.
Frequency
Drew,
certificates, everything.
He said it was in the work.
Supposed to be, yes.
Should have been done by the end of last year. So has that been done or not been done?
No.
Not
In
been
the
done.
last 12 years, it's the third time they spent $1 million on the radio. This year they'll talk to Mars with the.
That's 1.3 million, I remember that.
Yeah,
But
well,
that's the third time. Well,
yeah.
It was, the system in there now is only a few years old, that they replaced, that was $1 million a few years before that.
And they never told us for many years that the $1 million replacement didn't work right. We never heard that for probably 5 years after that was completed. Despite asking them all the time, how's the new radio? It's great, it's great, it's great.
That was,
Then at some point, they said, oh, well, it's really not working right.
yeah.
How about after you installed it, you maybe brought that forward to the contractor and
So, hey,
fixed it? I don't know.
This is supposed to go to the state police or whatever.
Yeah, the new system.
Newer
yes,
ones.
yeah.
And this is supposed to be state of the art. Well,
Yes,
what's the update on it?
that's a good question. I don't know.
Well, that will be part of the budget when the police come, you guys.
So off topic a little bit.
A lot of questions.
A little bit. Still on topic. In the last meeting, we talked about the BNA giving us back the quarterly numbers. Where do we stand on that?
I've had some discussions, so we're working.
Anything else? I love those answers. No, well, thank you, everyone. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second. In favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you online. Thank